Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're having here a discussion on the headlines that are happening all over. This is a standard I have on my hands, the Business Daily on the table, and the Daily Nation. You have the Ojong Mariam. You usually have the People Daily. Kama uko nayo niambie headline. Nasema hapo also the Star. Interesting headlines, but I have here with me Eric Macharia, political analyst. We've been with him before. He's also an enthusiast of sport, and I think a very key investor in Kiambu in matters of sport. We'll get to take a look at sports happening at the back of all the dailies. There's LFNE coming up in a few days' time in Kenyatta University ground, and there's also World Cup that is coming up next month. So we have a lot in sports, but also, a lot in politics. If you begin with the nominations that were laid out by President William Ruto and now currently ongoing vetting. Let's begin with the Standard, because it's what we are both holding. Millionaire hustlers is the headline. The vetting of the cabinet secretary nominees are starting off yesterday, and surprising, which Eric Macharia calls not surprising, revelation about their wealth generated from various income streams. Musalia's 4 billion to Wahome's 289 million, and this they are saying they earned from years of hard work. Yeah, so first off, Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How have you been?
I've been good.
Yeah.
I think it's been a minute since I was last here.
On Biashara Tuesday.
Yeah, on Biashara Tuesday.
Nilikuwa nangoja uingie tu na Kiswahili. Umezoea makala.
Yeah, I mean,
magazetini.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're back here on business.
Yeah, I'm happy to be speaking English today.
Yeah, mdomo si chetu lakini tutaongea.
No.
Sasa, the first thing I'm going to ask you is whether you like the headline. It's a new trend that I want us to be having a look at. Millionaire hustlers.
Yeah.
These are not hustlers, I think, first to begin with. But I don't know what your take is.
Yeah. Definitely, they are not hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think it's upon the dailies to actually look for means in which they can sell their paper.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit sensationalized.
Yeah.
However, millionaire hustlers, maybe the term fits, but I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest.
I see the Daily Nation decided to say, wacha ni copy homework yako lakini change kidogo.
Yes.
So they went with filthy rich hustlers.
Yeah.
Millionaire hustlers, filthy rich hustlers, all sensational headlines. For sure. At least the Daily Nation did use quotes on hustlers. So maybe to signify, as you said, they are not really hustlers. They're not really hustlers.
Yeah.
So 4 billion, Eric.
Yeah.
Musalia Mudavadi 4 billion, Aden Duale 851 million, Justin Muturi 700 million, Alfred Mutua 420 million, Alice Wahome 218 million. If you put it in dollars, unasema nini? Hakuna pesa hapa.
If you compare this to like the private sector in Kenya, it's not really that much, man, because I think the individual with the highest net worth over here is Musalia Mudavadi, the nominee for Prime Cabinet Secretary, for the position of Prime Cabinet Secretary, at a valuation of $4 billion. That's around 38 to 39 $million. Considering that the amount of years, maybe his experience in politics, his presence in governance, and also the fact that he came from a family which also served in previous regimes. I think it's a fair valuation.
It's a fair valuation. Yeah, 40 million USD.
Yeah, 30 years of investments will get you to such a position.
Yeah, he got to the Ministry of Finance actually as his first role at 33 when he was appointed.
Having entered politics, I think, at the age of 28 or 29. So in a span of like less than 5, 6, 7 years, he's what we refer today as cabinet secretary.
Yeah.
Kupanda mbio bana.
Lazima net worth ipande hapo. Yeah, considering also wanasema your net worth is your network is your net worth. You can imagine the kind of network that is built around, and you can see that also on page 4 and 5 where they're detailing out the nominees' wealth and what are the sources of income. So I think the biggest, as you said, after you just mentioned the dollar the dollar aspect, I think the one that we had to question was Musalia Mudavadi's 4 billion. The rest is just $2 million, $3 million.
Yeah.
Just a few coins here and there. I think if they have property and law firms and businesses that are as huge as they say they are, it's a fair valuation. However, the big question that is being asked out of this story is not whether they have this much money. It's the brand of politics in which they came into power with. Yeah, so they are pro-poor, according to what I saw here in the Daily Nation, saying this is opulence, right? And this is a government that is supposed to take care of the needs of hustlers. So the question is, do they understand the needs of hustlers if they have this much money?
You could say that you could go from the school of thought that it takes one to know one. However, we've realized that it's not necessarily how governance works. Because remember, government doesn't really work from the individual level. It's you have to be organized. So anything that government has to do has to come along. It will have to be trickled down, or even if they come or they attest to a bottom-up economic model. Policy will have to trickle down from the source down to the bottom at least, so that it can be able to spur or generate excitement maybe with their base or with the population. So I think what we should probably be considering or putting attention to is how good are they in policy direction and policy execution. I think it's probably why they needed the position of Prime Cabinet Secretary,
right,
added on to the Deputy President. This will be an add-on to the cabinet. So maybe based on the experience that Musalia Mudavadi has, I think he has a lot of he knows how government works,
right?
So they maybe have maybe they are looking for people who will help the policy trickle down well, and even adoption by other agencies. Remember, government doesn't work in a vacuum, and how to bring in other partners as well towards realizing the economic agenda.
So yesterday when they were doing the vetting process, now let's get to maybe, as you've mentioned there, it's good to see what kind of track record they have. Some of them have been, all of them have actually been in government for more than a decade each.
Yeah.
Musalia Mudavadi, we would say his whole life.
Yeah.
And one of the issues there yesterday that was members of parliament were poking holes on was some of the roles given to the Prime Cabinet Secretary seem to be overlapping those of the AG, and you're seeing is also sort of deputizing the Deputy President as well, and also overlapping some of the roles of the National Assembly Speaker, given that President William Ruto came in saying that this is not a government where they are going to be dividing positions among themselves. Hustlers are the key focus of this current regime of government. Can we say that they've deviated away from what they promised?
I think this will bring back the whole issue about the proposals that were in the BBI. And if you look closely, you'll actually realize that the expansion of government has happened. However, not through constitutional change, but now
executive directives.
Through executive order and directive. So it was necessary to expand the cabinet at least to fit in all these people. I think the President, His Excellency Dr. Ruto, has been really key on paying back
political debts.
Yeah, political debts, and those who are loyal to him during the campaign period. So this was bound to happen. I think if you've looked at especially, I think he's continuing. Yesterday also a few more appointments were made within the presidential press unit, and also within the deputy president's press unit. So I think we will continue seeing a bit of this, maybe going into the end of the year and probably into the new year, as it tries to balance out government. Remember, we still have CSs from the previous regime still in office right now.
Definitely.
So it's going to take it's going to take a while because they also have to hand over. Just don't vacate office like that.
Also, permanent secretary appointees and nominees who are supposed to also be vetted and sworn into office.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a few months of this kind of vetting and appointment.
Yeah.
So the question that I receive here now is, you've mentioned that Musalia Mudavadi has been in government before, and therefore we can maybe rely on his wealth of experience, his wealth of knowledge. But is it necessarily a good thing having old guards still running a government that is supposed to be youthful and delivering new promises that are supposed to be parting away or departing from what we've been used to in previous dynasties, if I can put them in quotes?
I think it is very necessary, especially when you have newer individuals taking positions of authority, especially at the level of cabinet secretary, individuals who've never really had the responsibility of having to manage such kind of portfolios before. So it's nice to have a healthy mix of a bit of the old and the new, because younger individuals tend to be a little bit more radical, while the older gentlemen and ladies tend to be a little bit more reserved. So to prevent us from being in a situation where things are changed like that overnight, so it's nice that you mix in the experience, the wealth of knowledge that the older guard has, with the new fire, that is coming in with the new guard. So a healthy mix is really good, and I think His Excellency the President has really done quite a bit to try and fit in all individuals.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've given out of course, they got to be asked a few things they would do once they get into office. Alfred Mutua, the Foreign and Diaspora Relations nominee, saying that his first trip will be to the UAE to help solve that situation of workers being, of course, molested and harassed, and of course in issues of domestic workers being some of them have been beaten, some have died, some are not even able to come back home. I think that would be important if it's going to be his first trip. Let's go to issues of track record, right? Musalia Mudavadi has a golden bag scandal too on his back, Alfred Mutua has a few issues here and there over in Machakos County. If you take a look at Chirchir also, who did resign back then from the same position which has been nominated, which is Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary. Kindiki also did resign some time back from during that controversial term of 2013 to 2022, if I can put the 10 years together. We have Aisha Juma, whose case just been dropped recently in the past 2 weeks. What do we have to say if there's also graft allegations across board in many of these, including matters of hate speech, which have been facing Moses Kuria, who's the nominee CS Trade. We have Ndungu, who was the central bank governor back then, helped, of course, build up that success that was witnessed during Kibaki's tenure. But now, can we overlook some of these scandals, issues of graft, court cases, and maybe move forward and see what they can deliver? Is it possible?
When it comes to politics, the individual or what the individual brings to the table is usually given more emphasis than whatever the individual involves themselves in. So to answer your question, at functional level, for each one of them, that is what government will be looking for. Is this individual functional enough to handle the portfolio that he's been mandated to exercise? Vis-a-vis now, when it comes to the individual level, you also have to take in, because now you're going to have to deal with issues of personality. Like, just to cut off, just to pick a few examples from what you've said, you find that most of their cases now are getting dropped, so that during vetting there wouldn't be too much of a problem. So what the focus that will be in Parliament is the function. How functional is this individual? How competent is this individual for this portfolio that is being given? So that is where Parliament or the committee in Parliament will put a lot of emphasis on. However, the graft allegations, I think we have a problem in this country in that we really do not, we don't really fully exercise Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Which is also what I wanted to bring up now, because when you say we, sometimes, of course, definitely, as we've all witnessed, is that an individual's contribution to the government's agenda would be greater than their personality, their background, some of the small domestic issues they might be having. Isn't the question of integrity also the most important here during this vetting season, now that we need to also do the nitty-gritty into how much money was lost under your care previously, or were you involved in hate speech, and now you're going to be, a symbol of, someone on that helm of national politics and government. Is it also important that we do integrity to the detail? As you said, past 2 weeks, we've seen so many cases being dropped, including some of these nominees, and including the deputy president, if I may say, who now, whose case, 7.5 billion graft case handled through personal accounts, him and several others. Seeing here that the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, asking for more time to review the case, and we might see this being dropped even into the future. So what is the place of integrity? Chapter 6, what is the place of integrity now?
Now, I think it should occupy a very key role in our politics, and also in how we govern and how we run government. However, this speaks to the national ethos of the country. Remember, just like art, politics is a mirror of society. So as individuals, as citizens, we don't really seem to really care, if I may put it that way, or when it comes to issues of integrity. I mean, as long as the more corrupt you are, the more popular you seem to get. So I think this all comes from our national ethos. So if we change, then they will have to change, because politics mirrors us. It's just like art. We mirror what is there. The position
of the leader is the reflection of the people.
So if you have corrupt leaders going up there, they can't go there without permission of the citizenry. So this means that the citizenry allows them. They actually, it's like they endear themselves to these individuals. Because if you'll find, there are very many instances. I was very involved in the just concluded campaigns, and my experience was that some individuals who very good individuals, very straight individuals, but nobody really cares about what they have to do, what their agenda is. But immediately they see an individual there. I think we've copied. We are trying to compete with the Nigerians now with the philosophy of it's our time to eat. So you want an individual who has demonstrated before that they are able to go eat and eat with you. So you now want that individual in a position of power, so you can eat with them. So I think if we are going to change the nature of our politics, if we want to see this change, we must change our thinking from, if I may borrow the words of our Kenya Kwanza brother, we need to change it from bottom up.
Of course, even in matters of integrity, need to follow the bottom-up approach. If not, especially, they need to follow that bottom-up approach. Maybe finally, a word on the CSs as we move on to another story outside of. Remember that more vetting is happening today. Kindiki, Ndungu, Cheche, Jumwa, and Kuria are facing members of parliament today, and that's going to be quite an interesting one, given that Jumwa, Kuria have very interesting cases from the past, most recent past. But as we said there, lastly on the CSs, how competent are they in terms of background? What do you think? What can you say overall? In terms of the dockets they've been handed, I would say Kuria, who has a good background in trade, and also doing business on an international platform. Kindiki and Ndungu, given that he was there as the governor of the central bank. Then about Jumwa and Muturi, Mutua, Wahome, and Duale. What do you have to say?
I think let me just start with the former speaker, Justin Muturi. having really, Parliament is a house of rules, yeah? And it's a place where you have various interests coming in, but however the law is what is usually, the law has to be supreme at the end run.
Need to be impartial.
Yeah. So with his wealth of experience in the position of speaker, having to mediate between different camps and different interests, I think he's probably suited for the role of Attorney General, in that he will have to mediate on behalf of government, with maybe legally now, just like he did in Parliament, between government and other interest groups. So I think he's well suited for the role. Yeah.
All right.
For Professor Kindiki, the docket that he will be taking charge of is a very tough docket. Yeah. However, there has been quite a bit of push to try and change the, especially when it comes from the security sector, from a force into a service. And being that he seems like a patient man and really not as rigid as you would put the former CS Matiang'i, he doesn't bring that sense of disciplinarian. So probably he will have to work with a really disciplinarian kind of PS. However, he brings in something that is very important, which is an aspect of humanity.
All right.
So probably he will fit the role in trying to humanize, especially the police. And remember, one of the agendas was they really wanted, I think their key constituents, which is their voters, had issues with how the youth are treated by the police, yes, and all that. So I think he might bring a human face, he might try to bridge the gap between, or the supposed gap that seems to exist between
the youth and the police. Okay, yeah. I see that. The other one that you can maybe speak about briefly, Eden Duale, do you think he's fit for defense?
Well, if he's going to be anything like the former minister Yusuf Haj, then maybe. However, starting off your nomination by criticizing the individuals you are going in to serve with,
KDF,
the KDF, I think maybe he needs a little bit more grooming, so that he can be able to realize that the docket of defense is very different from this other. Yeah, because now there's a lot less politics there. So I think Aden Duale, the politician, now needs to find a way to now maybe metamorphosize himself into Aden Duale now, maybe
military leader.
Yeah. Or what is this word? They did not like it used on the technocrat. Because I think the docket of Department of Defense needs you as a technocrat more than needs you as a politician. So he needs to find a way in which he's going to balance off his the political rhetoric. Yeah,
I see it. Maybe let's lighten it up a bit before we move to any other story. Life after state power. Uhuru settles in Masai Mara. This guy is
comfortable.
Yeah, he's having a good one.
Yeah, I think he was in Nigeria recently. Was it yesterday?
Yes, yesterday he was in Nigeria, and now he lives there over at a 1,000-acre farm overlooking the Mara. We can get to see wild beast migration. Just breathe some fresh air in there. Instead of going to either of his many homes all over the world. He's just having a good time over at Masai Mara. I think I like that for him, to be honest.
Seems to be it seems to be still in relaxation mode. I don't really see him staying there for long.
You don't think Uhuru can stick around in Kenya? Probably a man of the world, a traveler.
Yeah, he's already traveling. If he was, and remember there was a role granted to him by the now incumbent president, Dr. Ruto, where he will be overseeing the peace negotiations in East Africa mostly, and outside of that, he was part of a ministerial meeting.
Yes. In Abuja.
Yes. For the AU, and I think there are various couple of roles. I would have
him being a diplomat. I think it's well suited for those roles.
Yeah, I think I would be very happy to see him take charge of an international institution.
Right.
Yeah, I think it will do not just Kenya but the continent a great service to have that kind of experience and the networks that he has been able to build so far, and especially with the relationship going forth between that is being cultivated between Africa and maybe the East, the Asian countries. Yeah?
Right.
I think it will be of great significance to both the country and the continent.
Right. Yeah. I'm told that we are running out of time. Leo tunaongea tu kidogo kama time ishapotea. I think we are so involved in these conversations. Maybe you can pick one more story that you saw before I wrap this up, because it doesn't look like we're going to have a look at much more, but I think the most important story, which is the vetting of the cabinet secretaries, is important that we have had to go through that. Yes,
I think there's a story on the financial standard which is very interesting to me, which is and I don't think people really realize the significance of this, in that government has just acquired more stake in Telkom, which is the third largest mobile service provider
in Kenya, right?
In the country.
Now they are fully in control of the telco.
They seem to have taken a 60% stake. However, it's in the company, which is not bad. Having it seems like we are moving towards nationalization of it, where I have mixed feelings about it. However, if it is built up, I don't see what's the point. Let the government can maybe decide to let local investors maybe buy stake into Telkom the same way it did with Safaricom.
Right. Seeing that also recently we've seen the split between financial services of telcos, that is Airtel and Airtel Money, and they're also trying to do that with Safaricom. So hopefully Telkom can also get itself out of this debt-ridden situation which they've been for such a long time.
I think Telkom, if they continue working with especially with the data aspect, I think they might end up being a little bit more profitable in future.
Right.
And also something that you've just mentioned there about the Safaricom turning out into a group holding. I think that is wonderful news.
Right.
And probably something that those who are involved in investments right now, maybe it will help. Might help change our thinking. Because I think we need as Kenyans, it's time for us to really start thinking about developing our own multinational corporations.
For sure.
I think it's definitely time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to see that. Read more of these stories all over the dailies. I am so sorry we could not go through them all, but now that we are closing, I think tutafunga tu show na wewe, si ndio? Eric. Juu tunafunga show na wewe.
Yeah.
Hebu niambie kuhusu hii picha. The photo at the back of the Standard showing Haaland and his thighs there after a badly exposed defeat. Liverpool leaving Manchester City badly exposed. But also the biggest problem out of this is that we are letting Arsenal get away with it.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I'm a bit happy.
Oh, you're an Arsenal fan?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I come from the great Manchester United.
Superb.
This individual did something to us that we were not very happy about. So na hatukukaa na amani. The beauty about being a Manchester fan is that whether you win or you lose, we'll still end up being trending.
Yeah, for sure.
So having maybe a little bit, labda wangegongwa mbili.
Wamfunze pia, you know, sometimes kuzoea sana kufunga si vizuri.
Yeah.
So it needs to be stopped.
Yeah, but it's good that we see that football is changing. So we're having younger players coming in and dominating the way these individuals seem to be dominating. And by the way, yesterday was the Ballon d'Or.
Oh yes, Karim Benzema did do that, right?
Yeah, which was good. I also saw the Mane also won some. I forget the name of the prize. Which is interesting because Man City I mean, the English
switched-
league gave Bundesliga money, and we got
And we got
this
Haaland, this beast.
this individual who is doing things here.
All right, that's what we have here on Matters of Sport. I think I'll have you read the last word here on the Business Daily, and then we can close this up.
The Business Daily, the last word is from Barbara Pierce Bush, former First Lady of the United States from 1989 to 93. And she says, never lose sight of the face that the most important yardstick to your success is how you treat other people.
Sorry?
Never lose sight of the face that the most important yardstick to your success is how you treat other people.
Right.
There was a comma that is missing.